You're listening to The Morning Buzz.
To The Morning Buzz.
To The Morning Buzz.
The Morning Buzz on 90.3.
90.3.
90.3.
90.3 WMSC.
WMSC.
WMSC Upper Montclair.
Upper Montclair, New Jersey.
Good morning. This is The Morning Buzz on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I am the host of the Wednesday edition. That is today.
Yeah.
Kenny Horn, joined by my co-host Trevor Gioia.
Yo, what's good? I'm here. I'm back.
That's right. He was back. He is not here last week. And joined by our newscaster Francis Churchill.
Hey, everybody.
And can't forget our sportscaster Thomas Tarter.
What's up?
All right, we have got a very good show lined up here today. I just got into the studio 5 minutes ago, so I'm pretty nervous. So just to get the pressure off of me, Francis, take it away with the newscast.
Okay, so there's been unfortunately dangerous and record-breaking heat spread across the U.S. Southwest, specifically yesterday on Tuesday in parts of Utah, Montana, and Wyoming, as a dome of high-pressure air hovered over a large swath of the region, and it pushed temperatures into triple digits. Places such as Las Vegas saw temperatures up to 106 degrees, and we saw in Arizona, the National Weather Service forecast recorded a high of 117 degrees in Phoenix, and the previous high for that date was 115 degrees set in 1974. And Percha itself, another city within the region, said the high-pressure dome and specific areas were due to the land's lack of moisture caused by an extreme drought that caused blistering heat throughout the entire region. Now on to New Jersey news. A new viral video at Six Flags has gone viral, showing that the guide railing on the Sawmill log flume at Six Flags Great Adventure was already broken prior to a mishap on Saturday that left 2 people hurt. But a video obtained by NJ Advanced Media shows that 2 daughters and 2 nieces on the ride shows the barrier out of place when the boat made the 4-story drop. And specifically, the recorders of the video said the boat drop was one that had led to getting people hurt, letting too much outrage over the safety of Six Flags rides. In Montclair news, a free summer concert series held by the county will include a fireworks show at Brookdale Park, and the 2021 Essex County Free Summer Music Concert Series will include a performance by the Infernos at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 1st at Brookdale Park, which is obviously located in the Montclair and Bloomfield area. And the event will include a fireworks show, with the rain date being on Friday, July 2nd. Now on to weather. We can expect a mostly sunny day with highs of 77 and lows of 61.
Thank you, Francis. A free summer concert series? Seriously?
Like anything that sounds free is good in my book.
Anything free is good.
Yeah.
But I gotta go to that. I'm already planning it out in my head what I should do. I'm looking forward to. I am 100% gonna go now. Free things, music, that can't get any better than that. Actually, no, I take that back. Free food. There is nothing on this planet that's better than free food. Besides Thomas's sportscast. Thomas, tell me what's going on in sports.
All right. So first we have some hockey scores. So tempers flared last night in a very physical matchup between the Lightning and the Islanders, with the Lightning coming out on top by a score of 4-2. The Lightning opened up the scoring with a beautiful behind the net pass from Nikita Kucherov to Braden Point. Kucherov was a key contributor in the Lightning's win, recording 3 assists. Tonight at 9 p.m., the Canadiens will look to even the series against the Vegas Golden Knights. In the NBA, last night the Nets rebounded from a 17-point halftime deficit, beating the Bucks 114-108, with Kevin Durant recording 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. Tonight we have 2 games, each with teams looking to gain a lead in their series. First, we have the Hawks taking on the 76ers at 7:30. Then at 10 p.m., the Clippers will be taking on the Jazz. In the MLB last night, the Yankees defeated the Toronto Blue Jays by a score of 6-5. The Mets beat the Cubs by a score of 3-2. And the Dodgers beat the Phillies by a score of 5-3. Tonight at 7:07, the Yankees will be taking on the Blue Jays. Then at 7:10, the Mets will be taking on the Cubs. And then at 10:10, the Phillies will be taking on the Dodgers. Just some quick sports headlines. Not that much going on in the sports world, but we do have an interesting story. So former NFL Pro Bowler Vince Wilfork's son has been arrested for stealing more than $300,000 worth of jewelry, from his father, a majority of which was his father's championship sports rings, such as his 2 Super Bowl rings. A Patriots fan reached out to Wilfork after seeing the rings listed online for sale to ask if they were real, and they were able to track down the previous sale back to his son. And on this day in 1975, the Milwaukee Bucks traded Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Thank you, Thomas. Listen, I'm not much of a sports guy, but I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What's he? He's like the most biggest, most point scoring NBA player ever, right?
Yeah, I think so.
No, he is.
He is. He is.
scored the most points in NBA history.
All right. Well, that means that. Do you know what that means? I'm an honorary NBA player. That's exactly what that means. Because I knew that. So we are going to move on to our actual stories of the day. Our first story is a huge one. We have a new national holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. In Washington,
Not-
D.C., on Tuesday, the U.S. Senate, we passed a bill that would make June 19th, a federal holiday. It would become the 12th federal holiday. I guess that means we have one for every month, technically, even though it's not how it's distributed. Juneteenth, it commemorates when the last enslaved African Americans learned that they were free. The Confederate soldiers surrendered in April 1865, but the word didn't reach the last of the black enslaved people until June 19th, when the Union soldiers brought the news of the freedom to Galveston, Texas. That was also about 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in the South. This is huge. It was passed unanimously, and it just takes one senator's objection to block an agreement that this normally wouldn't be approved so fast. And if just one senator objected to it, it wouldn't have happened so quickly. The vast majority of states already recognize Juneteenth as a holiday, or they already have an official day of observance for it. But now it's official. It's federal. This is great. I am very happy.
This is one of those things where they're finally starting to come to terms with the past. And the fact that America is like, listen, July 4th is still July 4th, but Juneteenth is also very important for America's history.
Yeah, it's huge. And the thing, I think this comes, well, I feel it should have already been a national holiday. I mean, it's better late than never, of course. But I think this came at a great time because, and also I feel like that great time is what influenced it to become a national holiday because we have faced so much racism and prejudice problems over the past year. I mean, we have historically, especially over the past year. It's been one of the biggest topics throughout our country.
Yeah, it's this idea that we need to understand the fact that the past happened and there's no we have to look back on it and we have to understand that we're still going to have to deal with some form of there's still going to be racism and other things in our society, but we're trying to mend all that stuff. We're trying to be like, okay, how can we be better at the end of the day?
Part of what I'm curious about is I wonder if businesses, because it's a national holiday, that means that businesses are required to take off, right? That's what that means. I'm pretty sure, but I don't want to get this wrong.
Only governments, like post offices, will take off.
Okay, so
federal places like schools might take off or might have a half day.
Well, school is typically out for most people by then, I would assume.
Not in North Jersey sometimes.
What?
Yeah, no, in North Jersey, most schools end like the 2nd to 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I school.
That sucks for you guys.
Yeah, it does. It's North Jersey. What do you expect? They just want to keep us there forever.
Down in the South, we get out around the 10th. But
the 10th,
Around there. It was around there when I
Oh
was
my
back in high
god,
school.
you guys get to leave earlier.
It's like college almost same time you get out of college.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that it's being recognized, but I also hope that that same unanimous approval can go into actual policies because again, like you can recognize a holiday, as a legislative body, but there's still a lot of legislation that needs to be done. And then many of those same people have opposed the teaching of even items such as critical race theory, which is basically the teaching of Juneteenth and the teaching of the history of white supremacy and racism and racial injustice within America. So, and that was just, legislated to be banned in Florida and is looking to be potentially banned in several other states. So, like, it's a good thing that they passed it unanimously, but I would also wish that same unanimous approval would be done for actual policies to substantially, push America forward in terms of progress and combat systemic racism and, actually teach about our history of racism within the United States of America itself. So it's a good thing, but there's also a worrying sign that this could also potentially be on some part, especially from certain politicians, almost a gesture to keep people
To
happy
appease the
rather than
crowd.
actually substantially
Yeah.
change.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's that's basically a really good point because it's kind of this idea of saving face, not actually fixing the real problems.
Yeah, and that's that's been a massive trend for almost every single politician, or whenever there's a cultural moment or reckoning as a society, you often see politicians will hop on to something that is a trend at the moment, but then the same time when the news isn't covering it and there isn't much attention brought to it, they'll be going against those same policies that they said that they were going to support. And then like you even have stuff like like the MLK holiday was made a holiday in the 1980s, and then that substantively, unfortunately, didn't lead to massive change. We still had the war on drugs we still have to today. We had mass incarceration. We had massive racial disparities and police brutality. So again, these holidays are a good thing, but obviously going forward, it should be used as, okay, if you're able to unanimously improve a holiday teaching Juneteenth, then you should also be able to unanimously pass legislation combating the same type of racism that caused the stuff like Juneteenth to be such a significant moment in American history.
Yeah, and you brought up a really good point that I actually didn't know about.
Mhm.
In Florida, they banned teaching.
Yeah, no,
of it?
Governor Ron DeSantis signed into legislation that was just passed in both houses because it's both Republican controlled, that would basically ban the teaching of critical race theory in Florida. And there's several other politicians that are calling for that type of teaching to be banned in public schools.
That is
It's actually interesting because I actually took a class at Montclair that integrated critical race theory into like education practices, and basically the governor's argument was, oh, it's the class is like anti-American and this and that. But I honestly, when I took the class, I did not feel that way at all. It was basically about like how to create a more inclusive environment for students regardless of what race they are.
that is
See, yeah, and
absurd. Not what you
yeah,
said. No, I completely agree with what you said, Thomas. Trevor, what were you saying?
yeah, it's also kind of a big problem, and I don't want to get into everything that I see, but it's kind of a big problem in Hollywood right now, where they're not giving. I don't want to say everything that I know, but there's really big problems with that. They're just saying the fact that they're inclusive, but they're actually not. If that
There's
makes
like
sense.
there's a huge gap in terms of like people of color being represented within boards of Hollywood in and of itself. There's
Yeah.
also been like backlash of famous, Caucasian white celebrities taking the roles of people of color as well. And then there's also, the history of several, Hollywood movies that are, very famous back then that, now a lot of people are criticizing for what they deem as racially insensitive or racial stereotypes at the time. So
Well, to me, it's more like I understand that that's part of Hollywood, and the thing is, like, to me, it's weird because I know that I know they just want to show that the inclusivity and stuff. That's but sometimes they don't really actually care about it at the end of the day. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's like Francis said, it could just be just something to save face, to
I
cover them.
agree with Francis's point, but I do feel also that this generation is very more active, like politically, especially racial issues now, especially like after the death of George Floyd. I definitely feel that that has put racial issues front and center, and that people are becoming um more informed and more active on these racial equality issues.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. Actually, on Friday, we will be having an interview air with the former president of Black Lives Matter, the New York City chapter. And that's huge. And she's huge activist, and a lot of it was sparked. She's only 21 years old, and a lot of it was sparked by her just what's happened throughout her life, especially recently. And speaking of George Floyd, in New Jersey, actually, our next story, we are going to unveil a statue, a 700-pound statue of George Floyd in Newark. It's set to unveil outside of City Hall for at least 1 year. The mayor's office said in a statement that, quote, Mr. Floyd's death elevated the Black Lives Matter movement, which has resulted in an international response, including protests, police reform measures, and the removal of Confederate statues from public parks and racist names from organizations. And quote, this event, the unveiling, is scheduled for 2:30 p.m. today outside of City Hall on Board Street, and it's going to be streamed live on Facebook page. This is another sign. This one. Also, I'd like to point out that the George Floyd whole thing, it didn't even happen in New Jersey. It happened
in Minnesota.
Yeah, it happened in Minnesota. And the fact that we're getting it here, I mean, the fact that it's happening regardless is amazing. But the fact we're getting it here even shows the spread of the issue.
Yeah, I genuinely, it's one of those things where it's like, for me, I can't be in anyone else's shoes, and I'm gonna say this with, to me, it's kind of a little bit weird for me.
Okay.
It's nothing bad against, I'm probably going it's nothing bad against the people and stuff like that, but to me it's something that just feels weird to me. I it's almost like a martyr system, like a martyr.
I've seen things about that, how people
Yeah.
say that George Floyd was kind of a martyr, even though he really wasn't. He was
Yeah, like
he was killed, and that's what
Yeah.
he became through word of mouth, even though that's not at all what a martyr does it on purpose.
Yeah, to me it kind of makes a martyr out of somebody who it wasn't an actual martyr.
Yeah, I see that.
Because,
Does that
like,
make
he didn't want to die. He wasn't, dying for a cause. He was, literally, killed over allegedly a counterfeit $20 bill.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and you also see politicians like Nancy Pelosi release a statement of thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life, which
He didn't sacrifice.
Insanely insensitive and idiotic.
It's yeah.
That's our
it's-
opinion at the station.
That's our opinion. And to me, like, just saying that stuff is like kind of it's kind of weird being like hearing Nancy Pelosi say that. To me, it's very weird. It's very weird to say like, oh, making a martyr out of somebody who just wanted to live. And that's kind of what I'm saying. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
but getting back to the statue itself, that's, I mean, well, yes, it is a situation where it's kind of making a martyr out of someone who was just killed and didn't want to die. It's a good thing because it helps commemorate his impact. At least that's how I feel. I don't know how.
Yeah, I feel like, and also obviously for his life, but also I feel like it's also a representation of all those that have died due to police brutality, and especially those that weren't able to have, those people die face the people that died of police brutality for their killers to face consequences,
Yeah.
and those who have died due to racism as well. So I feel that it's obviously supposed to be a symbolic statue of not only him, all those that, had unfortunately died of police brutality before him, and also the, fight against systemic racism and social justice and against police brutality within the United States.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well, that it's a symbol.
Yeah. I it's a very fresh wound for me for all this stuff.
Yeah,
Because I can tell you quite honestly, I was one of those people I respected what they were doing, but for me, it was not something that it was really hard for me to see all that stuff.
Yeah, and I bet it was
really brutal. And just like, to me, like, I can honestly say, I feel like a few more years, yeah, it would be a little bit better to have a statue, but not right now.
Yeah. Well, it is also important to identify that us four here, every single person on this car. I wish that
On this call.
wow.
On
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
call.
I know the word, Thomas. I just said the wrong one. Yeah. Every single person on this call is a white man.
Yes.
So while we may have our own opinions about it, and everybody's justified to their own opinion, none of us can really identify with the situation.
No.
I was just gonna say, well, I really like the statue. I think it's a great thing, but I think it would also be more impactful. I'm like really passionate about like education issues and such. So I don't know what's going on in like discussions for a curriculum, but in the future, if they put like George Floyd and police brutality in the history curriculum, I think that would be really impactful, and that would educate children about like what happened to George Floyd and these racial issues that are going on right now.
I believe that in the future, at least it's just how I see things folding out, is that it's not going to be like, it's going to be the George Floyd death is going to be part of the lesson on police brutality, especially modern police brutality. That'll be a big, that'll be a few questions on the test, is how I see it. Maybe even an essay question.
Like,
as it
you're
should
gonna probably get more questions about the 90s Rodney King incident in LA, how that caused a whole riot, how the Detroit riots. You're not going to have all these, you're going to have a lot more things brought up from the past that people didn't like talking about. People did not like talking about the Rodney King incident. They still don't like talking about the Rodney King incident.
Yeah, and as much as we don't like it, the
Like-
conversation is what starts change.
Yeah.
That's what's needed more than anything, to have a conversation about it, or at least start talking, because if you don't do anything and just pretend it's not happening, it gets worse, as we've seen for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And now, especially with this statue, I feel like while it's not words, it is a physical structure that is a conversation starter about what has happened, I feel. And another epidemic that we've had over this past year, and once again, for many years, has been firearms and gun violence. And this brings us to our next story, where it was just found out that the U.S. Army hid for years and downplayed the extent of how many firearms that they actually lost track of. It brings to light a lot of things. Apparently, they lose a lot of military guns and weapons to the streets. And it's not just that they're disappearing. It's that these guns have been used in shootings, brandished to rob and threaten people, and recovered in the hands of felons. Thieves even sold assault rifles to street gangs. And the official army states only a couple hundred missing guns. This is way off, according to the Associated Press. I cannot find the actual number, but they found that through their full investigation, that they are completely underreporting the loss of weapons. What do you all think about this? I will try to find that number this second.
So basically, it's crazy to me. I was reading it, and the part that really stuck out to me was the fact that it was like they're like the underreporting of stolen weapons, of weapons being lost, was something that was it was just so weird. I'm just like saying to myself, that does not make sense, because it does explain a few things, but it doesn't explain everything.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
kind
I just worry about like we have like a lot of gun violence issues now, and I just worry about like these guns can get into the wrong hands.
I mean, that's what's already happening according to
Yeah.
AP. They've
Yeah,
been
we've already
sold.
seen this happen in several places, both due to we've seen issues like the Operation Fast and Furious throughout the Bush Obama years, and then it also occurred under the Trump years as well, where several guns were being shipped out to several Mexican governments, and they were lost, and they were found in the hands of cartels, or they were even given directly into the hands of cartels. And we've seen this also with like the shipments of arms overseas to several other nations as well. So there's been a massive issue of U.S. arms and arms deals winding up in people's hands that either the army doesn't want, or they give them to the people that wind up using those guns for other means and other forms of violence. So that's also been a massive issue of U.S. arms sales being directly related to mass violence around the world.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, because it kind of links back to what it kind of one of the more interesting explanations of, for people who don't fully understand this. Can you kind of explain like why, to in layman's terms, like why is this so dangerous?
Well, it's dangerous because, I mean, you've seen multiple terrorist attacks. And in fact, the most famous example of arms and even money being used to fund terrorist organizations that wound up devastating the US was 9/11, because Al Qaeda was created out of this organization called the Mujahideen, which the Reagan administration in the 1980s invited over to the White House. They gave millions of dollars in arms. And the CIA also even trained them how to hijack planes. And several of those members, including Osama bin Laden, would go on to create Al Qaeda as well as a terrorist organization. So you quite literally see a terrorist organization that was made out from the ashes, partially from another, basically incendiary group within the Middle East and Afghanistan called the Mujahideen. And through the weapons that they were given and the training they were given by the CIA and the US government, they were able to orchestrate terrorist attacks throughout the West and orchestrate 9/11. So,
Okay, I found an answer.
Mhm.
According to the Army, when they were first asked the question, they said they lost 288 the first time they asked, or 230 weapons the second time that they were asked about. And this was between about 2013, 2019. What has actually been found is they have lost over 1,300.
That's
That's
crazy.
not
That's
even close enough to the point
that's
where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I could see them being wrong by a couple. No, that's over 4 times the amount.
yeah. And for those who've like seen any like this is a weird tangent, but anybody who's ever seen like a comic book show like Arrow, sometimes they have stolen military weapons. They
I
do.
mean, yeah, it happens.
I think it's an open secret that's known that in certain parts that, yeah, US loses a lot of weapons. And it's bad.
Yeah, it's there's not much more that we could really say about this. It's just universally, it's a bad thing. But because we don't have much else to say, we're going to jump to a very quick break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Don't worry. This has been a pretty heavy first half of the show, but we got some lighter news coming up, including why apparently New Jersey is the best state to live in. Welcome back to the Morning Buzz. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. I forgot what year it was before I said that. It is
It's-
2021, believe it or not. Yeah, I know, right?
It's
crazy.
okay. It's okay. Like we don't know if 2020 happened.
Yeah. Who knew? It's 2021
knew?
now. So we
knew?
teased before the break that we have a lot of lighter news stories.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm not gonna lie, as a New
It's-
Jersey resident, it shocked me. So we have a story from NJ.com. New Jersey was named, quote, the best state to live in, according to analysis. But don't you laugh. We have more to talk about. According to analysis by the financial website Wallet Hub, we got the highest marks in some of the highest marks in both health and education by that website. But, and this is the part that I think needs to be taken into more consideration, we were 49th in property taxes and just affordability in general. There are 52 weighted metrics, and property taxes and cost of living, everything was involved. And instead of more entertainment-based factors like movie theaters and minor health-based factors, it included a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you all, do you think that we are probably the best state to live in?
No.
Did you
No.
all say no? I feel like I didn't hear that from everybody.
No.
In the
Not
back of the
really the
class. Okay, so what do you think is?
I mean, again,
Every state is gonna have its own problems, but
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Well, of course, nowhere is perfect.
You'd have to go to like
Pro-
a
probably
state that has a mean of high standards of living, yet is also not as expensive as other states.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to states that have a better sense of community. You're safer there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors that would go
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
And
I'll
I'd
be honest, I can't really say that whether New Jersey is best here or not, because this is all I've known. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on trips, but like I've never really been anywhere except for here in New York, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York, Pennsylvania for me, because I have a lot of family there. So like Pennsylvania. I've been to Texas multiple times. That's a really nice state, but it does also have its drawbacks as well.
like that's
okay, here I have
yeah.
the comprehensive list right here. Okay, number 1 is New Jersey, as we said. Number
why?
Number 2 is Massachusetts. Okay.
Okay,
right.
that's
not bad.
that's
That's not
not
bad.
bad. That's
Number
not bad.
3,
It
number,
seems
listen.
like
Listen,
based
It-
so
it's I'd rather have Massachusetts because to me Massachusetts is just Massachusetts.
I don't
New
know what that
Jersey-
means. Number 3, number
maybe a positive or
3.
negative connotation. But I
Yeah.
guess they don't rank expensivity as that much of a drawback, clearly, because those are two very expensive states to live in.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they're
apparently.
very
Well,
they're
here's the
very
thing.
expensive.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
New Jersey is 49th in affordability. Massachusetts is 45th.
Yeah.
In economy, New Jersey is 32. Massachusetts is 12. In education/health, New Jersey is
Massachusetts is
5.
number 1.
Massachusetts, it's 1.
Yeah.
In quality of life, New Jersey 7. Massachusetts 5. In safety, New Jersey 1. Massachusetts 5. In only one category. In one category.
Is nobody going to talk about the fact that both the safety is
We
the
literally
one
have
that-
Camden.
We literally have Camden. We have Patterson. We have well,
There's no, that's literally, yeah, we're not statistically the lowest in terms of like, if you're going to measure safety by crime rate or like, I guess also, I don't know if you'd factor, it should be, poverty should be factored in whether someone's safe or not, because obviously poverty is a very dangerous situation to be in, but we still have more people in poverty than a state like Massachusetts or Maine or Vermont. Because
Yeah.
I've literally been to parts of Patterson, canvassing for a congressional campaign, and there was entire people living in abject poverty with no air condition whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a thing in every state, to be fair. But here's the thing that's driving me crazy. Massachusetts is leading in everything but one category.
Safety.
I don't understand.
It's
Okay, well
it's
then,
it's something. It's something I never thought I would say. Massachusetts is not in terms of like safety. Yeah, sure, there are probably bad parts of Massachusetts. There probably are. Every state has bad areas. Baltimore is basically its own like its own place, its own like kingdom of like craziness. Because
But okay, I have the rest of the top 10 for us. Number
Yes.
3 is New York. Number 4 is Idaho. Number 5 is Minnesota. 6 is Wisconsin. 7 is Utah. 8 is New Hampshire. 9 is Iowa. And number 10 is, what was it? Francis's wonderful Pennsylvania.
okay,
It's the worst place to live.
Can I
Listen,
say,
it's number 10. It's number 10, Thomas. All right.
Can I say like the best joke would be having Kansas as number 1 in safety, because basically Kansas there's nothing to do and basically there's
yeah,
cornfields.
like, or
Well,
Wyoming.
interestingly enough, Wyoming is the 6th most safe state.
Oh yeah, there's nothing to do in Wyoming.
No, there's a lot to do in Wyoming. There's just not a lot of people. I've been there.
Yeah.
You've been to, that place doesn't exist. It's actually number 13, Wyoming. Now, I want you all
Yeah,
to guess.
I mean,
I want you all to
clearly they're
guess.
not ranking like either in terms of like diversity or economy, because like
Well, said there
California
were
has,
52 separate metrics that they use. These are just 5 that I have.
Yeah, there's like
It's-
the
So
Well,
I'm
then,
sure.
I guess
others
they must be ranking them differently in terms of importance, because like again, like there's states like North Carolina or Georgia that have massive economies and bigger populations, and they're also way less expensive than say New Jersey. And they have relatively, I think North Carolina and New Jersey probably, I think North Carolina has probably a slightly higher crime rate, but I don't think it's that much drastically higher than New
No.
Jersey. New Jersey's
No,
ranked
it's-
way
Well,
higher.
New Jersey, apparently, according to this, I found some more stuff, ranks number 4 in lowest crime rate, which, as much as we may find that hard to believe, it's numbers. I'm not going to doubt it. I'll take their word for it.
Listen, it's lowest in crime, but it's also notorious in certain parts.
It can. It is.
But parts of where you're in Jersey.
Yeah. I'd also like to have you all guess. What do you think the worst state is?
I don't know. Chicago,
Like I don't know. I guess
Illinois.
I read these
Illinois.
things.
Illinois,
I like to.
Illinois.
That's the worst
Mississippi.
state?
Mississippi.
Oh wait. I'm supposed to guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think I read somewhere that it was New Mexico. I think they were like somewhere like down the bottom, but because like I like to read these things sometimes, but we'll see if I'm right.
Okay, you say New Mexico? All right, wait, Trevor, you said Illinois, right?
Illinois.
Francis, you said what was it?
Mississippi.
And Thomas, you said New Mexico, right?
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. It's New Mexico.
Oh.
It's New Mexico. My first guess was Alaska, which was number 49.
I've been to New Mexico. It's really nice.
Alaska basically is frontier, and basically like there's just small towns.
I've
on
always
the
wanted to
island.
go to Alaska. That's
I've
the
been-
number one vacation I want to take. Alaska.
I've been to Alaska.
Yeah. The thing about New Mexico, apparently it is the least safe state to live in. Who knew? Actually, I'm
Like-
sure a lot of people did, but I didn't know.
Because it's technically close to the Mexican border.
I kind of
No,
cheated.
I
I
don't
think I
think
read
that's
that
the
report
reason.
before. I might have read that report before.
Yeah, I kind of thought you cheated. But Mississippi, like you said, Francis, that's number 47, so that's not too bad of a guess. Illinois, number 18.
Well, if you're ranking crime rate, I'm pretty sure Louisiana has the highest crime rate. So I don't know.
I think it actually does, according to that list. Wow, it's. I
Maine
will
has the
have the
lowest
answer.
crime rate.
It is number 49. Highest crime rate is, you guessed it, New Mexico.
What about like I remember?
I'm
hearing-
reading a different report then.
I'm reading the one off the website that ranked them all.
See,
No, this one's ranking them too, but it's World Population Review, and it's doing the
Oh no,
like-
I'm going by the wallethub.com.
Okay.
That's the one that
Okay.
NJ.com released this list based off of.
I just
Well, I also think NJ.com saw the one that ranked Jersey the best state and thought, okay, let's just release this one because this will get all the New Jersey people happy.
That makes sense. That actually does make a lot of sense.
So,
There is one
I'm
key
just
metric.
saying,
There's one
No,
key
I
I think
metric.
the study's flawed, but I am guessing whether or not NJ.com just saw, okay, it ranks Jersey as the best state. We're just going to publish that one.
There is one key metric that is missing though.
what?
It's going to be a corny Jersey joke.
no other states have the excess of tail or ham that we have.
My God. I knew it.
I'm right.
No.
I think that's
Like-
what got us number one. Yeah, we may have number 5, health and education. We would have number 1 in health and education if we didn't have tail or ham.
No, we're ranked highest because we're in a cultural civil war over how to call a piece of, like, what do we call a piece of meat?
Whoa,
we
whoa,
have
whoa,
for
whoa, 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 whoa,
breakfast.
whoa, whoa! Don't you ever
refer
refer to it as ever a piece of meat. All right, I will fire you, Francis. All right.
You're
I'm
not the
kidding.
GM, but okay.
I can't actually do that.
Yeah, that's an
No.
empty threat.
No, I would never actually do that, even if I had the power. But what do we all make this list? Okay, I'm gonna throw out some state names. Guess what number they are. All right.
Okay.
Play a little bit of a game. All right.
Yeah.
Let's guess.
Bunking on states that we think are bad, basically.
Not necessarily. Just guess the number of a
Um,
state. Texas.
I'd say like
I say probably somewhere in the
13.
middle because, like,
Probably 25.
25. Texas is 33.
yeah, I
Alright.
was gonna say like somewhere in like the middle or like the lower because like they have like a lot of like decent suburbs like outside of like the metro areas like Austin and Dallas. But
Yeah, and they're starting to make it more appealing to live there, but it also has its drawbacks.
Yeah.
It does.
but
We
like
have
other than that, like
It-
like they've had their fair share of problems in the news, and also like when it comes to education, the governor has been sued a few times for not meeting the federally mandated amount of per pupil spending.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
education. Also, the fact that their power grid literally went out and people died during a mega snowstorm. So, like,
Yeah,
safety and in
yeah.
terms of like their electrical grid being separate from the U.S. And also, I've been there multiple times. The weather is insane there.
I like
I-
the weather. I've been to Texas. All right.
I-
We
I-
are going to Trevor, say your final thought before we move on.
No, it's good.
What do you mean? No. You can
It's good.
say it.
It's basically like I find it hilarious that Texas is like, yeah, we want to succeed, but
Yeah, no, I just wanted to wrap up on this. No, New Jersey is like any other state. It has its pros and cons, but definitely, like they said, like we our education and healthcare is was number 1 on the list, which was the big thing that they
No. Education and healthcare was number 1 for Massachusetts. We were number 5.
we were
we're
number
number
3.
5. We're
Five.
number 5.
5.
Oh, New
Which
Jersey?
even then, that's top 10%.
Listen,
Oh, okay. But
listen.
I was just gonna say,
Uh,
New Jersey, we still have hospitals that are lacking essentials. We still have some schools that are underfunded or lacking test scores. So
Yeah. And I would like to say, just before we wrap this up, Alabama is the most affordable state, apparently. Now, we're going to move on to our next story, also about states. A Google Trends analysis, I love this one, revealed each state's most misspelled word. This makes me so happy. I love this list. I think it's hilarious. So, the most misspelled word in the most states is quarantine, topping the list in 12 different states. It
Thanks,
was the
COVID.
most misspelled word in Colorado, Connecticut, Indiana, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, Nevada, Oregon, Tennessee, Washington, Wisconsin, and the non-existent Wyoming. The most here's the funniest thing to me. The analysis, second most funny. The analysis found that the most common misspelling of quarantine was Cornteen. Quarantine. It's a teenage corn on the cob. Coronavirus was the most misspelled word in Illinois, Michigan, and the number 1 state of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and West Virginia. Favorite was another big one. Every people spell it EVARY. That's another one. That was in Hawaii, Mississippi, and Montana. There were 3 states, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, that had a lot of trouble spelling believe. And my favorite misspelling word is in Delaware. The most misspelled word is government. Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why? If for those of you who don't
They
know why
object
that's
to
my
government
favorite,
so much they misspell it.
they are literally the first state. That is amazing. Succeed in Washington, D.C. Can't spell that. Multiplication in Kansas. People in Kansas can't even do multiplication. That was a mean joke. That was a mean joke. I take that back. And Texas, confident, which I find amazing because Texas people are typically confident about their beliefs. But to be fair, we can't spell coronavirus, which I would think is pretty simple.
Well, it's also ironic considering we were affected the worst by coronavirus out of any state.
Well,
Literally. And you're laughing about it.
I didn't even think about that.
because
We literally have the highest death rate like per capita, not just in the United States, but one of the highest in the world. We were the worst affected by it. We were the epicenter for it in the United States when it hit back in March, and we can't even spell it right.
But like,
it's making light. We're trying to make light of something serious that happened.
I misspell things all the time when I go into the Google search bar, but like honestly, I just type it in anyway because I know it will like autocorrect for me. So.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's Google laziness.
It's just laziness overall. I can say whenever I look up a word, I'm like, oh, so that's how you spell it.
It also part of the list is they identified trends of people saying, how do I spell blah blah blah. There were also things where people would write, teenagers of corn on the cobs, but still, I'm not going to get past the fact that government is the most misspelled word in Delaware ever.
I just, when I read it, I loved the fact that the one that really got me was quarantine, which is corn-a-teen, which is really funny.
Like I can understand that being a difficult word to spell for some people. I could definitely see that. But the way that it's misspelled most commonly, I think is hilarious.
Yeah, they don't even include the Q in it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's corn. And the rin, the teen, it's
just nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it gets rid of so much of it.
Yeah, it does.
I got some bones to pick with every. That's not a hard word, I think, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I thought. In Alaska, they can't spell 80. In Arkansas, they can't spell receive. In Florida, I don't know why. I guess Florida must be really good at spelling because their word is probably the most complicated out of all of these. Pharaoh, like an Egyptian pharaoh. I mean, not really.
Hey, the Florida man's been reading up on his dictionaries.
That's right. In Idaho, it's peace, not as in, peace and love. It's like I'm ripping into pieces. And in Maine, it's watch.
How do you? Watch is like so basic to spell.
Yeah,
because there's two ways. Because there's watch TV and watch.
They're spelled the same way though.
No, there's only one.
They're spelled the same
watch. There's only one way to spell watch.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing for a second, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're spelled the same way.
Yeah, wait a minute. So like this goes into like grammar and spelling. So one of the things that I have problems with is distinguishing there and there.
The different types of there.
Yeah.
The most basic grammar slip up.
The most basic grammar slip up, which is just like, okay, there, and like,
But then again, it could also be just Google laziness.
It could be.
That too, yeah, and like autocorrect as well.
Yeah. But here at the Morning Buzz, we are going to move on to our last story of the day. And this, I love these last two that we did, but this one, easily my favorite for today. Okay. So Shelby Houlihan was an Olympian. She's an American track record holder, and she was just given a 4-year ban from the Olympics. She failed a steroid test, and do you want to know why she says why? A tainted pork burrito.
That's
actually happened before in sports, though. Like,
no. That's too crazy. Like I read it and I'm like, a pork burrito.
No, because that's what happened with Canelo Alvarez. He tested positive for PEDs, and then there's certain meats within the Mexican food industry that have banned supplements or a certain amount of steroids in them. So then him and his manager were saying that that's like the reason he tested positive was because he was eating those meats.
No,
and he had that meat in his system. Now they weren't able to really prove whether or not, okay, did he actually take these steroids, or was it because of the meat or because of both? But because of that, like, arbitrary ruling, they decided to give him a lighter suspension than they normally would have been boxed.
No, I refuse. Francis. I refuse.
I just gave you an example of a sports star testing positive because of what they ate.
No,
Th-
it's
th-
not.
this-
That's not true. This is a lie. I refuse to believe this. So
I'm not
she
saying
said,
it's true. I'm just saying that people that's happened before of like
Yeah.
people saying, okay, well, it's because of what I ate.
okay. Well, she wrote a long message about this on Instagram on Monday. She said she'd received a letter from the Athletics Integrity Unit on January 14th informing her of the disciplinary action. She said that she provided the drug sample on December 14th and it came back positive for the steroid called nandrolone. That's a fun word, nandrolone.
Did
That,
she
that,
provide
I'm,
like a
I'm
second?
surprised that's not a most misspelled word. She said, but she also said that she compiled a food log to determine what she ate before her test. And, quote, we concluded that the most likely explanation was a burrito purchased and consumed approximately 10 hours before that drug test from an authentic Mexican food restaurant that serves pig offal near my house in Beaverton, Oregon.
Literally the
And
same
quote.
reason. Literally the same reason.
So
Because
so
because of
so
the certain beef that they have within Mexico, that's like within their standards of food. Like they found trace elements of those steroids in the beef.
I refuse to believe.
so basically in form of like biology, like basically biologically a pig has some lingering elements of those steroids.
Well, we all
basically?
have steroids in us. It's
Supposedly.
like
The lesson
how much
here is
we
if you're a
give to those
professional
animals.
athlete. So the lesson here is if you're a professional athlete, don't consume Mexican food until your career's over.
Well, it's more so certain Mexican meat, but yeah.
But yeah, you were saying something, Francis, because I really don't like, just in layman's terms, like what you said before, like we all have steroids in our body biologically, right?
Yeah, no, we all like testosterone is a steroid. We all have steroids in our body. It's certain steroids that are altered or specific steroids that are then taken from someone else's body or studied through science, specifically usually from animals that are then tested in the scientific field to see, okay, how can they benefit, people? And the vast majority of time people are given steroids, it's through their doctor for an injury or a medical condition that they have. And even athletes are legally allowed to use them when they get injured or if they have certain medical conditions. They're allowed to, and they're giving a pass by the drug testing system, but other times they aren't. But that's essentially how steroids are used. And specifically with animals as well, they give, especially animals that they're breeding or making for food, they often give them steroids to make their muscles and body bigger so they can produce more food. So that's why you see a lot of specific animals, they wind up having trace elements, specifically in certain countries like Mexico, where they have different standards of food than the US, have found steroids within their system. That's even been found in, like, I don't know the specific steroid, but there's like trace elements of certain steroids even in US food that's been found.
I would like to mention that, okay, let's entertain this, even though I completely think this is a lie. Let's entertain this, okay?
Yeah.
I've
Imagine
read
the
her,
fact.
hypothetically, they're telling the truth. So
Yeah, hypothetically, why she actually failed her steroid test is because she ate a burrito. Hypothetically, or supposedly, according to her, how would you react if you found out that you're a record-holding Olympian? How would you react if you found out that you ate a burrito and now you can't do what you want to do for 4 years?
Well, I would be pretty upset because
Well, yeah, that's pretty safe to say. Pretty safe to say
yeah,
there.
because again, I looked her up. She's like 28, and the typical Olympian only lasts until like 30s, maybe 40s. So she's losing that one Olympic cycle because of this. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is the greatest. If this is a lie, which I think it is the greatest steroid lie ever told because it's so relatable. Everybody eats
it's
burritos, or not everybody, but
Yeah.
most
No,
people,
but-
I should say.
I'm really excited for the Olympics next week
uh,
because like
just-
I like to watch like swimming and figure
Yeah.
skating. How about you, Kenny?
That's my answer.
Kenny, just imagine if during the 2000s steroid thing, imagine if Roger Clemens or somebody like that said, "Yeah, I just ate a burrito. That's why I have that."
Exactly.
Yes, right?
This is just
Like, that to me is like what I'm thinking is like, I know what you're trying to say now because you're like, Imagine if Roger Clemens said, "Yeah, I was just eating burrito, and that's why I have steroids in my system."
Listen, at the end of the day, us four, we won't know the answer. So
No,
we,
no.
as much as I think most of us can agree, we don't think this is true. We really don't know. Now I'd like
Hey,
to
you can
end.
provide a B sample that winds up showing no steroids in our system. Who knows?
Yeah, I would like to end the show on my favorite segment every time that I am on the board. This is what is that sound? This is when I get to test out a random sound on the audio board and find out what it does. I am gonna go for I can't I'm gonna go for whatever this one is. This says Naruto bad situation.
Back to back weeks of playing Naruto.
Okay, that really wasn't that fun. If it makes you feel any better, Francis, this is the one I did the last time I was on the board. I think that one's hilarious. But that is going to wrap it up here for today on the Morning Buzz at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I have been the host of today's show, Kenny Horn, joined by my co-host, Trevor Gioia,
Yep.
joined by the newscaster. I don't know why I'm pointing backwards towards the screen, newscaster Francis Churchill, and our sportscaster. Can never forget him, Mr. Thomas Tarter. We will be back again tomorrow. Not us, but we the show. Tara Cicchetti, she is going to be hosting for the first time this summer. I am officially off for Thursday duties, but I'll still be in the background. I am looking forward to talking to you all again on Wednesday. Goodbye.